It is the biggest coal mine in the whole of... Well, the coronation of the new Oni is a watershed in the history of the Yoruba land generally, and Ife in particular. Now, because they have a leader now, that will... Simply put, Gura is a beautiful countryside with awesome landscapes. If something differently would be done to the Nigerian textile industries, that our youth will be employed. Many people that attend the church here can tell you.
Service in Holy Rosa is in Benin.
We are taking a canoe tour of the communities on the bank of River Niger in Keso.
Machina in Yobe State is always a delightful story. This beautiful township is the sunshine of the expansive land area that covers northwestern Yobe. Machina is the extreme border of that state and has linkages with the cities in Jigawa and Niger Republic. It is always a serene agricultural environment and well laid out. Yet, despite the simplicity of its perspectives, the town conceals deep historical and cultural standards few areas in the region could compete with. This is a rich ambience from the Palace of Machina. It is an exemplification of the excellence of the musical art of the area. This music has as much history as the evolution of the Palace of Machina itself. Today, the Palace of Machina stands out as unique in the whole of northern Nigeria. It is the only palace in the whole region whose face is to the east. Oral tradition says this is a function of the historical evolution of the palace, a consequence of a major event in the palace that happened several centuries ago, but whose underlying impact still reflects from the palace.
So when they are constructing the palace, now Aliu Senior said, I want to be facing my junior brother's palace. For that reason, now they now turn the gate to face east, which is the Gazargamu area. And wherever the king now, I use officially all my sitting places, all my traditional sitting places, I sit and face east to face my relations in Gazargamu.
The Palace of Machina is not breaking any law by its perspective, but it is the only one with it. In modern times, this palace is leading a major cultural revolution, hitherto missed on many communities in the area. The palace finds the necessity to every year hold a major cultural festival that will not only bond the people of the emirate together and reinforce their cultural heritage, but also expand the emirate's horizon of contacts and relationships with the people outside them. The Emir of Machina, Dr. Bashir al-Bashir Bukar Machinama, is the driver of this revolution. Machinama finds the necessity to put his emirate in the nation's cultural map to bring recognition and increase prosperity for his people. Clearly, Dr. Bashir al-Bashir is part of the generation of Nigerian emirs who, by their deliberate actions are bringing their people out of the shackles of poverty and despair to the mainstream of global awareness and economic well-being.
I used to remember the advice my late father do give me always. Before I became a district head, he used to tell me that, Alaji, don't say you will accumulate wealth, but you get people behind you. You are not to accumulate wealth. In Hausa, he used to say, kar ka nemi dukiya, ka nemi jama'a.
The Machina Annual Cultural Festival has never deviated from expanding the boundaries of contact and mutual understanding with the other emirates and countries. On the festival held this year, some 15 chiefs and emirs from across 5 West African countries of Ghana, Niger, Benin, and Togo were in attendance. Prominent Nigerian emirs, including Shehu of Borno, were around for almost 4 days of the festival. The president of the Niger Republic, in fact, sent a representative who was around throughout the duration of the festival. It was a rare get-together of music, drama, daba, and local sports. I arrived Machina in an especially explosive evening. Various cultural groups were on hand, including palace guards, to make an electrifying display before national and international guests that have arrived for the festival. One of the abiding virtues of Machina International Cultural Festival is the promotion of local sports, particularly traditional wrestling, kokawa, and langa. They are an indispensable component of the festival. It is interesting to hear the emir of Machina says as a young man he was an ace langa competitor. Apparently, the sport brings him memories of his childhood. Traditional wrestling is a much more widespread sport among local communities in the north, especially with the end of harvest. The inclination to traditional wrestling by Machina Emirate during its annual cultural festival may be influenced by its neighborhood of communities in Niger Republic. Wrestling is a national sport in Niger, with the annual competitions rotated along states in the federation. Wrestling is the star sport in Machina Annual Festival too, and elimination matches take place to the point where they would emerge the wrestling king for the festival. Machina Emirate has 5 districts. Wrestling competitors are drawn from the districts and nowhere else. All competitions are in-house. It is the policy of the Emirate to elevate our people to positions beyond where they are currently. Some of their homegrown wrestlers have in fact actually represented Yobe and in fact the country in wrestling competitions. What is murmurs of wrestlers that they would rather see their hero die in combat than come out defeated. An epic battle unfolds here to qualify for the semi-final of the wrestling match of the International Cultural Festival of Machina. The combatants are familiar foes, but one would have his ambition for qualification ended now. In the end, Yawala Taylor from Palmeran won over his opponent. In between matches, some cultural displays were brought to the stage. They more than add color to the fight. I crave to reinforce a story I have told at Machina before. Historically, the people of Machina are cave dwellers. At a point in their life, they came downhill to settle in their new settlement. I took a visit to their old settlement, which has proximity to their new settlement. Machina is a place of history, ancient history if you like. But then, one of the story is that until 1500 years ago, this place is what defined Machina. It is their settlement. So the people of Machina had been cave dwellers who were also hunters. They come to their caves uphill and find the night. In the mornings, they go downhill and look for livelihood through hunting. But then crucially also, in Machina, there is a tale of leadership succession. Do you know that in this Machina, in this place, a king has given birth to 2 children. One of the children is Snake. And of course, there is a succession story now in Machina. One belonging to the human part or the human first of the children, and then the snake part. All this in this place. Now, we shall relate the story to you. But the very part of the story is that where I am, where you see me here, this has been the place of the assembly of people of Machina at that period. They come here and do their assembly and retire to their caves. There is also a palace. It is not like any palace you have seen. It is an underground palace, which will also show you. So, welcome to Machina again, and welcome to Karmakawa. The old settlement still maintains its original place of assembly, water point, and its old palace. In one of the most interesting human stories around, the palace is still inhabited by royalty from the Machina royal house. You cannot come to this ancient settlement of Machina without coming to this place. They call it Marikura, or the big palace. This has been the palace of Machina, that 1,500 years ago. It is still there. But then, like the settlement itself, the palace is a cave. In fact, very thick and deep cave with a lot of channels underground. So if you want to access it, you have to go the channels. But you know the big story about this palace? The people of Machina believe that those who are ruling now are snakes. The history of Machina has an attachment with the snakes. The story has been that one of the emirs of Machina had a twin brother who was a snake. That snake retired to the rock and is here beginning his own generation and then dynasty of rulers. And they are under this palace. The human part, or the human part of the twin is there in Machina. Their family are ruling. That is, it may be hard to believe, but that is the story current around this area. So I obviously would have loved to go under the cave and see what is actually happening. I'm not so much afraid of the snakes than I am of the filth that is there, because it is not being taken care of properly, and it can be tight, and maybe we are not very much aware of how it will look by accessing the channels. But the story is this palace still is there under a cave and then being visited by people. You may be amazed. It will be difficult to have a serious function in Machina without snakes. They don't appear open. But the Emir of Machina, Bashir Bukar, believed that when you see anyone around, something serious is about to happen in the palace.
So if we are doing anything, they normally come out. If we start seeing snakes in the palace, we know something may happen, either of sadness or happiness. So we pray it's for good. But even if the worst happens, that is what Allah has made it.
Machina was at the breaking point on the final day of the festival. Considering the effort of the emirate of conducting the festival every year, the state government built an expansive multi-purpose stadium for the town. It came on handy on this final day. The attendance that day was national. The small town that Machina is was creaking under the weight of arrivals to it in a pleasant manner. The arrival include emirs, state governors, senate president, and members of the business community. Machina is making a display of the difference it can make to the world. The third place match of the wrestling competition was the first on the menu. It was a match between Malikisho Aibu from Rogo district and Lula Ubali from Machina. The final of the wrestling match was between Yawale Taylor from Palmaran and Uzair Malan Kasim from Dole. It was a match of mind games. In fact, one of the competitors took minutes to be at the field when the match was called and was short of being disqualified. He lost the match anyway, eventually. In the end, Yawale Taylor, who in fact had international experience, won the match and was decorated as Rikin Kwako Machina for this year's international festival. He was overjoyed. After the wrestling competition, an elaborate daba was hosted by the Emir of Machina. Machina has made a name for itself globally as home of daba and skilled horsemen. His daba sequences stood out as very unique too. The first phase of this Daba is a march past of all the contingent in the Daba. The Emir makes the rear and arrives to greet all distinguished guests before he disembarks and takes his position to receive homage from all his subjects in the Daba setting. It was an extensive Daba setting in which, in the end, May Machinama sang all the invited guests and conferred Machina chieftaincy titles on three eminent personalities present. They included Senate President Mohammed Lawal, who is now the ambassador in Machina, Governor Badru of Jigawa State, who is now the Dokaj in Machina, and Governor Magudu of Kebbi State is now the Malik in Machina. It was an occasion in which Yobe State Governor Mema Labuni gave a speech announcing lifting ban on motorcycle operation in the state. The festival was wrapped up with an exciting horse racing competition in the evening. In the end, it was a thoroughly entertaining week in Machina, in which everyone left with a memory of what a beautiful place he had been to.